All right, well, welcome everyone to the first masterclass of 2020. Some folks are still rolling in and joining us and getting settled, but I'm gonna get started just for the sake of time. So today our masterclass is talking about leading live exchanges. And this is when you run an exchange in the same room as your participants. You use it at events or at meetings as a way to change the energy and add something new. Today's session will be about 30 minutes long, and I'll be staying online afterwards to answer any of the questions that you may have. So before we get started, I'd like to invite you to join the conversation on social media. So if you use LinkedIn or Twitter, here are hashtags. So hashtag TEVE or hashtag TE Masterclass. And I'll also let you know that there is a chat feature in Zoom. And you can just pop your name and where you're from in there. Welcome, and we're excited to have you here. And also I'll mention that my colleague Amelia is there watching the chat during the webinar to answer any questions. So let me introduce myself as well. You've probably seen my face if you've attended one of our masterclasses last year, but I'm an engagement coach here at Thoughtexchange, and my name is Tila Beischer. I work in partnership with our thought partners to help them plan and execute their exchanges. So I teach them how to use the product. I teach them how to set up exchanges. We talk about communications, best practices, how they can share results back. And I really focus on creating meaningful conversations with those exchanges. And then the other thing that I do is working on projects like this one, the masterclass series, that aim to get you a better understanding of Thoughtexchange, how you can use your account to its full potential, and how to really reach your engagement goals. So now that we have our housekeeping out of the way, let's hop into what we're actually talking about today. And today we're talking about leading live exchanges. My main objective today is to give you all of the theoretical and practical skills needed to confidently run your own exchanges at meetings. And I want you to leave the session with two things. One, a really clear use case. So how would you use this to support your own events and meetings? And then I also want you to have the product knowledge to execute upon that use case. So how we're gonna get there is talking about why and when you would use a live exchange. We're gonna do some technical skills training, and then we'll have a live exchange at the end of today's event. So why run a live exchange, and what are the benefits of using this model of Thoughtexchange? And really at the core of it, live exchanges offer experiential learning to your events and your meetings. Your participants are invited to be a part of your event rather than just listening. And that helps them have really strong buy-in to your messaging and to your learning. They're also learning from one another. They're not just learning from you, because it's that conversation that they get to experience the same way that they would in a regular exchange. And for you, it's really a talk less, listen more leadership approach. If you've actually attended one of our events, so our Thoughtexchange events, you've experienced the power of a live exchange in person. We often use them to guide Q&As after our speaker panels or to dig deeper into vulnerable conversations. And the feedback that we hear after those events is always how much people loved the live exchange portion, because it changed their energy. They weren't just sitting and listening anymore. Suddenly they were invited into a conversation about what was being talked about. And it really helped them feel drawn closer to that event or to that topic or to that speaker. And it helped the people to refocus and to stay engaged. So let's chat a little bit more about the benefits here. And you can see that this slide talks a little bit about the fact that these live events can be easy and engaging ways to gather ideas fast with the group. They help you demonstrate active listening. They move the conversation from loud to crowd. They change the energy. So if you have an 8-hour day and it's presentations, people are sitting, taking notes, having a live exchange can be an opportunity for them to change their energy and actually have a conversation or just do a different topic, keeps people engaged. They're transparent. It's inviting people in. It's not hiding anything. It's not having an agenda. And they complement and enhance your other facilitation strategies. So I wanted to give you a couple use case examples of when you would use a live event. Perfect. So here are some examples of that. So let's read through these together and talk about examples of exchanges that you could run based on these. So pre-event is something that we do internally at Thoughtexchange all the time. Just like a lot of our thought partners in the private sector, we run regular town halls, and we do have remote employees and offices. So this is a space for all of our company to gather together and talk about what's important that month. And oftentimes we'll spend the first few minutes of these meetings participating in an agenda setting exchange live together. What do you want to talk about today? What are the most important things for us to discuss as a company today? We'll all share our thoughts, rate the thoughts of others, and then use the top thoughts report and talk through it to prioritize what we need to talk about together. And then during the event, you can use it as a Q&A for panel discussions on presentations, or you can crowdsource solutions. So a really good example of this is if you're hosting an event at which you have a speaker coming and you want to make sure that the audience crystallizes the learning, you could opt to do a Q&A at the end of the speaker's session. Have them say, what are the most important questions that you have for TILA today? Or what are the most important questions that you have about the topic that we covered? Give people 10-15 minutes to participate in that exchange, and then have the speaker address the top thoughts while they're still there with the group. It's really that opportunity to close the loop and to come full circle on the conversation. And then another benefit of that is that it gives you clarity in learning. People are able to pull out those key insights really quickly when they have a Q&A style exchange. And then a really exciting use case is Roundtable. And this is a feature that's a little bit newer to us. And if you've attended one of our events in the past year, you may have gotten to participate in Roundtable, but it's a tool that turns an exchange into breakout conversation groups. So it works by your participants joining the exchange. As per normal, they share thoughts, they rate the thoughts of others, and then they're placed into breakout groups based on their ratings. Either groups who rated things similar or groups who rated things differently. The groups actually find each other. They get a little notification on their phone that shows a certain icon. So maybe everyone gets assigned an avocado and all of the avocados go and find each other. And then they have a conversation with each other. And it's a mechanism that really puts people into the conversations that they need to have to enrich their own learning or their own thinking on a topic. It can also be a way for you to expose your group to a range of perspectives on a topic and expand the thinking. A really powerful question that we see asked for this is, based on today's topic or based on topic X, what conversation do you need to have right now? People will share their thoughts, rate, and then they'll land in those breakout groups and actually have the conversation that's important to them. And then this final one here is post-event, and this is your opportunity to help people find key insights and help you gather feedback on the event. So maybe you, at the very end of your event, you dedicate 15 minutes to doing a wrap-up exchange. What are the key action items that you learned today? What key insights will you bring back to your team as a result of today's session? If it's a roundtable, maybe you want to ask them after they've finished that breakout group, what are your biggest takeaways from the breakout session? Perfect. So next, let's dig into the technical know-how. And a lot of you registered for today's event because you shared with your Thoughtexchange contact that you're planning to run your own events in 2020, and you're interested in learning how to actually build those skills. So my goal today is to really teach you the technical skills, and we're going to do that by actually creating an exchange and then inviting you to participate in it. And the first thing that I'll mention before we dig into these 4 aspects of the tech side is how quick that it can be to set up an exchange. It doesn't have to be something really heavy. It can be something that you do quickly ahead of time. Dedicate a couple minutes, create the exchange. And also, if you're in a meeting and you feel like this is something that you want to try out, maybe you're with a group of your leadership team and you're feeling open to trying something new, you can give this a shot too. It doesn't have to be something really heavy. Perfect. So these are the 4 aspects to consider when you're planning for your exchange. The first is preparation. The second is to create your exchange ahead of time. And then you want to consider your timing and your event outline. And last, how can you integrate the Discover dashboard? So for preparation, really think before your event, who's going to be in the room? So how many people will be there? How familiar is your audience with Thoughtexchange? Do you need to add an introduction before you invite them? What is Thoughtexchange and how do you participate? We also recommend creating the exchange ahead of time and creating a slide to project with your 9-digit join code on it and potentially a QR code. Perfect, so let's hop in and actually create an exchange together so you get a sense of how straightforward it is. So here I have my draft screen open. I already clicked on the create button in my room. And this is where I would put my exchange question in. And today I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts? It's always hard to type when other people are watching. What are your thoughts and questions about leading live exchanges? Wonderful. Because I'm doing a live in the room, I'm going to verbally give an introduction to my attendees, in this case you. For you, if you're at your events, you can verbally introduce the exchange. So I'm going to skip the written one. Click Save. Another thing that I can skip to are survey questions. These aren't important, or they aren't as important because you likely won't be breaking the data out. If you do want to use survey questions, you absolutely can, as you would with a regular exchange, but do consider the barriers to participation that might exist if everyone is going through answering survey questions that might add some additional time to your event. And then I'm also going to toggle off sign up or login required. That way people don't have to create the Thoughtexchange account in order to participate. They can get into it much more cleanly and quickly. I click on launch and that's it. My exchange is ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is actually find that invite link here. So I just click on invite and I have the option to grab the link here or the code. And the 9-digit code is one of the easier way to invite people to participate in the exchange. It's your option to post it onto a slide, so a PowerPoint slide, project it, and then have people go ahead to my.thoughtexchange.com and click on the join button, and then they can just type their little 9-digit code in and hop into the exchange. You can also use a QR tool and create a QR code and then pop that onto the slide, which you're going to see that I've done today. And one note that I want to make for that is that there's not a tool to create a QR code in your Thoughtexchange app. So if you are going to do that, you need to use an external QR code creator. Perfect. So let's hop in and talk a little bit about timing and outline. So I'm going to give you a standard outline here. And our recommendation for the time that it takes to include an exchange in your meeting is 20 to 30 minutes. But this can really fluctuate based on how experienced that your group of Thoughtexchange users are and what type of exchange that you're running. So for example, if you're running a roundtable exchange, you might want to book 30 to 40 minutes, 15 minutes for the participation, 20 minutes for people to actually have those breakout group conversations. And another thing to think about is if you have a group of experienced Thoughtexchange users, you don't need to budget as much time. People are already used to hopping into the exchange. And then finally, if you're doing something like an agenda setting exchange, you might not need a full 20 minutes. People can just hop in there, book 5 to 10 minutes and let them star and rate. So a general outline of what your live exchange would look like is an introduction, a welcome, so that's when you project the join slide. You'd have your participation time, and then you'd have a quick wrap up, so addressing what came up in the exchange. So in your introduction, you want to talk about why are you running the exchange and what is an exchange, if that's relevant, if your group hasn't experienced Thoughtexchange before. And really thinking about your introduction as you're verbally introducing it, follow that same structure that we recommend for the written introduction. So what's your context? Why are you running it? What's the progress that you're hoping to make today? And then what's the call to action? So today, why are we running it? We're hosting a masterclass on leading live exchanges, and I want to hear your questions and feedback. The progress that we're trying to make with the exchange is to hear all of those thoughts that we didn't cover today and really hear your feedback about them and then address them so that you leave with a holistic understanding. And then the call to action will be that when I share the join slide that you hop in, use your mobile device or your phone, share your thoughts and rate the thoughts of others. Perfect. So for thinking about timing, introduction can be about 2 to 3 minutes. You can make that longer if you need to or shorter if you need to. And then the actual participation period, we recommend doing about 10 to 12 minutes. You might want to do longer if it's a large group. And my best tips for that first are to be quiet while people are participating. I know that I, as a coach, have a hard time doing that. I want to be giving people tips and tricks the whole time that I'm presenting, but really people need quiet space during their participation period so that they're able to think through their thoughts really mindfully and thoughtfully, contribute what they want to, and consider that rating. And if this is a smaller group or you're noticing that people seem to be done, really be flexible with this time. Shorten it if you need to, or let people explore for longer. And then once we're wrapping up or coming to the very end of the participation period, so that 10 to 12 minutes, at the end, give people a prompt that if they haven't hopped into the share step, they should do so now, or to the star step, sorry, they should do so now. So great, we're at how many thoughts so far. If you haven't made it to the star step, please hop in there and rate the thoughts of all the other people in the room. And the other thing that you can do is actually open up your Discover dashboard and project it. I always recommend don't be afraid of doing this. People are already seeing the information in the exchange anyways. You're not showing anything that they haven't shared or participated in. And open up the Connections tab, which I'll do once you participate in your exchange. It's that live map of people actually sharing thoughts and rating, creates a web and gives them a visual understanding of what the exchange is. Perfect. And then if we think about the Discover dashboard section or closing your exchange, there's a couple different ways that you can do this. So you could look at the top thoughts report and talk through your reactions to each of them. That's what we're going to do today when we do our live exchange. And then you can also do a Q&A style. So maybe your speaker is the one reacting to that. And then another thing that a lot of our thought partners do is a pair and share. So at the end of the live exchange, have everyone turn to their neighbors and talk about what impacted you the most, or what was something that came up for you, what were your key takeaways from what came up in that exchange. And this is really a trickle up method. So it's your key insights and your takeaways being shared with each other, and then you can get a couple brave souls to volunteer to speak to the whole room and share what they just talked about. Every voice is being heard and meaningful conversations are really taking place. And then the last thing that I'll mention is that you can opt to send a summary report after the event and add your comments to each thought, which is what we're going to do today. Perfect. So what we're going to do now is actually move into that exchange. So if we see here is the join slide that I created for today based on our exchange. So you can use this QR code to hop in and ask me any thoughts and questions about leading live exchanges, or you can use this 9-digit code down here as well. And I'm going to give you some quiet space to participate. I'm going to put myself on mute for a couple minutes, and then we'll hop in and look at the Discover dashboard together. All right, folks, I'm going to open up the Discover dashboard now and show you what your connections look like just while you're still participating. Perfect. So remember that connections is a mind map or a visual representation of thoughts being shared and people rating those thoughts. If you are introducing Thoughtexchange to a new group of users, this can be a really powerful tool for you to use to show them that it's something different than your traditional survey method. It's their opportunity to start interacting with each other. So we have a bit of a smaller group today. You can see that this is a little smaller, but I've been in live exchanges where we have 300, 350, 400 people in the room, shown the connections tab and just seen people's faces at how powerful that it is, that they got to talk to 400 people at the same time. Wonderful. So I'm going to give you maybe one more minute to look at those thoughts in the STAR step, and then we'll hop in and read through the top ones. Awesome. All right, so we're looking at the top thoughts report together, and we're going to use that style of closing the loop of reading through all of these. Just because of time, we may not be able to actually address each of these questions. So what I'm going to do is to actually write a leader comment. So I'll just add my thought in here, add my public comment, and I will send all of you who registered a summary report. So it'll be a unique custom website URL, and you can read through my reaction to each of the thoughts. If you do have further questions afterwards, I'll make sure to include my email address, and I'm happy to set up any time for us to talk. Perfect. So question number 1, how big is too big? Thinking about live exchanges and roundtable exchanges. This is such a great question. And really it depends on the size of your group and how much time that you want to spend. As I mentioned, we've done live exchanges with groups of 10 all the way up to 400. It was the largest one that I've participated in. And if you're thinking about a live exchange and you just have a short amount of time and a big group, it can be a really good way to have an engaging exercise with the big group. With Roundtable, you want to consider how much time that it would take for people to actually find their groups and how large those groups are. What's nice is that you can set the size of the breakout group. So if you have 200 people attending your event and you want 10 groups, you can set it to have 20 people in each group, and that way all the people just find each other. And that's a really nice control that you're able to have. Perfect. So is there a baseline recommendation for participants to use the Roundtable feature? Really like the feature and wondering how it might work with a smaller group, 15 or fewer. That's a great question. Usually we see about 20 people participating in a Roundtable, but we'd be happy to stick around afterwards and help you figure out what that could look like. Perfect. The next one is concerned about my comfort in leading live, and honestly, me too. I think that we all get those post-event jitters, and trying something new with a group of people can be really intimidating, and it can be a really vulnerable thing. So my really good advice for this, and something that we try internally, is test out a live exchange with a group of people that you really trust first. So maybe do it with your team first next time that you're hosting a presentation. Use it as the way to close up and ask for key insights on your presentation. That way it's a little bit lower stakes. And then when you move into those larger events at which you're hosting 50 people, 100 people, etc., you don't feel as nervous about how it would actually feel. Another tip that I have is that when you're working with large groups or large meetings or events, make sure that you have other people there to support you in helping the audience get into the exchange and just doing those tech things. So a really good example is that when we support at events or when we host our events, one person will be doing what I'm doing today, so all of the presentation aspects, and then we'll have 2 or 3 people just floating through the audience, offering support to those who are having difficulties joining the exchange. Perfect. So up next, best practices for getting invites to participants ahead of time versus during the presentation. We want it to be as seamless as possible in transition between presenting and switching to a live event exchange. This is wonderful. So you could do the style that we did today with the actual join slide, or you could opt to email out a link to the exchange ahead of time and ask everyone to check their emails. With that, you will have people looking through their emails and scrolling through. So really both of them are great ways to invite people to join. Perfect. So next we have demonstrate the how-to before launching the first exchange. Show people how easy it is to use the platform. Absolutely. So we do have a how to participate in a Thoughtexchange video that you could play right before the exchange starts. It's about 60 seconds. Click play, it'll show people how to share, how to star, and how to discover, and it'll really show them how easy that it is to participate. And then how do we best describe the benefits of Thoughtexchange versus a standard survey and build trust in the process? Really, this is all in that how to participate video and in people actually experiencing it. Showing the connections tab really shows that it's a conversation and not just a survey. And once people participate in that star step, really that magic step or that unique step, and they start to have that participant learning or participant empathy building, they start to see how different that it can be. The next thought is, it is important to share ideas and answers in a timely manner and to stay on time. I agree. And so that's why having an event outline of all the times that you want to meet is really important. So do that during your planning process for the event. Block out how much time that you want to spend on introductions, how much time that you want to spend on actual participation, and then also how much time that you want to spend on reviewing the results with your attendees the way that we are right now. Perfect. So next we have, it's important to have a record of all answers for reviewing and reporting. So keep track of what people think. And that's really a benefit of running that live exchange, is that all the conversations that happen in the exchange, you're going to have them in a Discover dashboard. It's not the same as if you were just having a conversation with a group of people and you're frantically writing notes. This way, everything's already documented for you. You could just do your summary report and you have everything in one place. Perfect. So what I'm going to do, just being conscious of time, is answer the rest of these questions using the leader comments and send you a summary report. And if you have any questions afterwards, I will mention that I am going to stick around on the line, can answer any of your questions. And I do just want to thank you so much again for taking the time out of your Monday morning to attend our masterclass. This was the first kickoff to our 2020 series, and we have some amazing topics coming up this year. Things like designing the right question, bringing your team on board. So how do you bring more people on your team to be using your Thoughtexchange account? How do you share your vision there? Working with your results, and that would be the Discover dashboard. How you can really get the big picture quickly. We'll be talking about multi-language exchanges too. So if you have stakeholders in different languages, how can you invite everyone to the conversation? And then we have more. So keep an eye on your inboxes. Once we have those events finalized and posted, we'll be putting them on our virtual event site, and we'll also email you invitations. And do remember that these events are free and they're open to anyone with a Thoughtexchange. And so anyone on your team who you want to support you, you can invite to attend these as well. They're every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, except for holidays. And we do also have a new series coming out soon that will be more about the essentials, so the basics of creating exchanges. So keep an eye on your inbox and on our marketing information for more information about that in the very near future. And I just want to plug 2 more events. We do have a virtual event on the 16th this week about leading with grit. And so check out our virtual events page for that. And we also have a book club coming up on January 29th. We're going to really dig into Brene Brown's Dare to Lead book. So be sure to register for that. And one final little piece of housekeeping is that this year we really want to hear from you about how the masterclasses go for you. We want to make sure that they're relevant, that they're useful, and that we're offering topics that support you. So once you leave this event, you'll actually be sent a quick survey. It's about 3 questions, and I ask that you do fill it out so that we get your feedback. Thank you again for your time. As I mentioned, if you want to stick around afterwards, we'll keep the line open and I'll be here. Thank you.